Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome one and all to another live stream. I'm joined in the virtual studio by the inimitable, often compared but never equaled Vicky Poole of Tender Response.
Often compared but never
often.
equal.
Never.
Talk about bland flattery.
And I'm Gareth Wax of the Many Purple Hats. I thank you. Today we're talking about how not to miss out, how not to be at the short end of the straw, how not to miss out on opportunity. It's all very well opportunity knocking, but if you don't grab it with both hands, you could easily come a cropper. What the hell am I talking about, Vicky?
Well, I want to know if people have tender FOMO.
I think they do. But I also think they have fear of getting involved. Is it fear of getting fogey? Which is, because they're scared, because the whole thing, tenders are all complicated, all could easily get it all completely wrong. And what happens if I write this and the rest of it? So that there's those two things. You get the FOMO, and also you get the fogey. Okay. How do we make sure that they don't have to worry about either?
Well, the most important thing to note about is that if the client is yours, then you are the existing supplier. So if you don't know when that tender is coming out, you're going to miss that tender.
Right.
Because they might be coming, you might have had that existing relationship. You might have just sent in some marketing material and then they picked up the contract from there.
Right.
And then under compliance laws, they have to come out for a form of procurement, which may involve you being on a framework. It may involve you being, having to be registered on a particular portal. And if you're not there, then you don't receive the invite.
Right.
Which also means that you miss the tender by default.
So you've got to join the club to be invited to the club awards, if you like. But that's one side of it. There's also making sure that you're fit for purpose and making sure that you're actually applying for the right things, is there not?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is this wonderful document called, so you get two documents with most tenders. Numero uno, you get the ITT document that kind of outlines, it's like the God document. It outlines what you got to do, by when, and like how you're going to be scored, and the questions that you're going to have to produce responses to. So these are going to be things like there is a 70% weighting on quality. When you're responding to the sections, you've got to include a copy of your health and safety policy, your ISO 9001, your CHAS, your SIP, whatever it is. That's all going to be in the ITT document. That's about the rules. It's the engagement. This is what you need to do as a minimum, if nothing else.
Right.
Numero dos is the scope of works. Number two. Not the other way around, this two.
Oh.
Or you could do it the continental way, which is two, depending on which flavor you want.
Right.
Which is the scope of works document. So this is explaining to you, is the supplier, how the procurer wants that contract to work. So it could be things like the facility requires to be open for staff. So in a school environment. The school opens for breakfast club at 6 a.m. for staff. So all cleaning has to be done the night before. Whereas you could say, well, none of my schools have morning clubs and I do my cleaning between 5 and 7:30. That's fine. If you were to respond with that, that would be nil point because you haven't read the scope of works document. So by reading the scope of works, you understand not only if your business is a good fit for that contract, is a good fit for that client, but it also sanity checked that what the tender is asking for is something that you can deliver.
Yeah, it's critical that those two things match. It's all very well putting forward because you think you might be able to do something, but you actually have to be able to deliver the scope of works, right?
Absolutely. So now you've found a tender, you've had a look at the scope of works, you've fielded a really beautiful response, and you've pressed that big old button that says submit. What now? Do you just sit there and wait for the email that comes into your inbox? No, you actually need to keep monitoring that portal, because you have two things. You have post-submission clarifications. So if you've used some terminology that's kind of unique to your business and not necessarily the industry, or the client doesn't quite understand whether or not something's included in your bid price or not, they're going to ask a question. And they have to do that formally through the portal. Have to. On a rare occasion, they will email you, but they will email the person, the email address that you include within the form of tender documents. So if your email address is vic@tenderresponse.co.uk and you say email for all interested things, go to info@tenderresponse.co.uk, that inbox is checked once a week.
Wow.
So if the email says, can you please respond by close of play Wednesday, you've missed it, because if you check that on Thursday, Friday, you've missed it. So the email address that you complete on the form of tender documents has to be an email address that's checked regularly. So it could be your sales at whatever, or it could be a team leader or someone within the business who knows what this tender is about. And that's really important, because once you've received or rather, once you've addressed those questions, it then goes into the clarification, the award criteria. Now, depending on the council, depending on the procurer, that can be an officer decision. That can be done through procurement, or if it's over a threshold value, and that threshold value is different for different councils, it has to go to members for them to vote on and in order to kind of move that contract forward. So this process can take as little as 2 weeks, or can take as long as 6 months, depending on the council, their processes, and the contract value. But again, once you've been awarded, so here's the contract, Gareth, here's the contract, you still need to reply with a thank you, we confirm acceptance.
Right. It's not just enough to be on the list. You actually have to say, I agree to be on that list. Absolutely. Right.
Absolutely. Okay. So here's the real killer. You could have spoken to your client, made sure that you were on the right portal for that tender coming out. You could have fielded an amazing response. You could have answered all your clarification questions, and then you go on holiday. And while you're away on holiday, the award notice is emailed to you, or your login, or it's posted on the portal, and someone needs to go in and check it to confirm receipt. If that doesn't happen by a particular time, you lose that tender.
Right.
So
it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. So a couple of things to note for everyone who's watching, because I know that we like to do lots of little summaries in between. The registrants for the portals should always be a generic email address. When you're ready, because you have to register on lots of different portals, it could be useful for your business to use an application such as LastPass in order to manage your passwords.
Right.
Because you can do click to launch from there. So everyone can have their own logins. I mean, the subscription's nominal a year. You get your first license for free anyway. And then you click through. And that way, anyone can log in to check your business's portals using the portal owners' logins. Yeah. And it also means that you can go on holiday without worrying about any communications while you're sitting on a Barbados beach drinking a pina colada.
Especially if it's likely that a submission's timing is about to complete, you don't have to be there to chaperone it.
Exactly. And the other thing, which I'm sure everyone does, is when you go on holiday or you're out of the office, stick an out of office on. Even if it's I'm in meetings all day and unable to respond till emails until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. If the procurer sends you an email that has a deadline of 5 o'clock and they know that you're not in, they will use the contact details on your out of office.
Right.
In order to get the answer to meet their timelines, or they'll take it back and go, oh, actually, there's no out of office details. We'll give them until noon tomorrow. So then they'll send a follow-up email saying, further to what before email, you've got until noon. Just saying. In most cases.
In most cases.
In most cases. You do get some procurers where that's the process, computer says no, and then it's a decision for you whether or not that's a contract that you want for your business.
If you've missed out on there's no way back, is there? Once the date's passed, there's no late call, is there?
Well,
it's not always hard and fast. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, everybody. My internet's just started to flap. So you could email the contact in the procurement document, the ITT, and say that we've started doing our upload, but we've now got issues getting access to the portal. Will you accept an email submission? Or it's we were doing our uploads, but it timed out and we really struggled. I know that the submission was noon. Can we send you a hard copy on email? And the timestamp is like 1-2 o'clock. If it's several days later,
you have to give them a sensible reason.
You need to give them a sensible reason.
Right.
So I was once working for a telecoms company, and on the day of submission of a tender, because this had a supplier qualification document, then a pre-qualification of people that passed the SQQ, to then invite 3 tenderers to the bid. So there was 40 involved in the first stage, there was 11 involved in the second stage, and we wanted to be one of the 3. And it was really important because we were the incumbent supplier. So right. On the day that the second of the 3 stages was being submitted, I was on holiday. The person who was working with me on the tender, they had a house fire, and the office with all of our bid team in had a fire drill, and that they couldn't turn the fire alarm off, so they weren't allowed back in the building. And it's seriously, could there be anything else that could possibly go wrong?
It's the perfect storm.
Yeah, so we emailed the client, explained what was going on. They extended the procurement deadline by an hour to everybody, and this poor little bid writer, they picked up their tablet, their computer, and they went to work from the McDonald's across the road just so that they could get this tender document out. I really did feel for them trying to upload a 7 gig document using a throttled communal internet access.
Yikes.
Preach. I mean, that's hard going. I think they were there for the better part of 40 minutes trying to load one document.
Okay. Well, look, I'll tell you what, it's at this point, we're going to do 2 things. Before you do your world-class summary, first of all, I'm going to draw attention to a whole bunch of resources that you provide under the Tender Response website. That's tenderresponse.co.uk/resources. What sort of things will they find if they go looking there?
Check out that link. You'll see a wonderful.
I'm afraid. Well, there's lots of very useful information, including templates, and really help you get a foot up. I'm also going to draw your attention to a WhatsApp number. This is woman or is man? Woman, does it? Okay, excellent. And you'll get a response within less than a working day. And if you've got queries, if you're unsure, just send it out to there. I guarantee you'll get a response. And then the next stage will be to book some time with Vicky herself so she can actually come up with some useful stuff. So those two things. Now, before we go, I'll take the number off, but Vicky, would you summarize your position?
Summarize last 15 minutes. Oh, crumbs. So how not to miss out on tenders. Firstly, you need to speak to your clients. You need to speak to your prospects and understand what procurement mechanism they're going to use to come out for tender. So this is what portal, what framework. You then need to make sure that you're registered on that portal and framework. And my guidance to you is to use a pooled email address so that you can relax, you can go away without having to be the sole responder looking after that email inbox. And once you've done that, make sure that inbox is checked regularly, at least twice a day, to make sure that you don't miss out on any post-submission clarifications or award notices. We don't want to miss out on the award notices.
Absolutely not. So look, once again, thank you so much, Vicky. Ever increasing amount of knowledge. I still don't seem to know as much as I think I ought to, but I'm learning. And if you guys have further questions, please pass them through to me or go straight to Vicky. She's very supportive and very welcoming. But I would like to wish all of you a successful week and, of course, great mental health. Until next time, bye-bye.